Hey guys, Probable1701 here, and today I'm going to be discussing my top 15 stories to come out of the 80s for Doctor Who. Now, I haven't seen every single 80s story from Doctor Who, but I have seen a good portion of them. Matter of fact, I think there's only one McCoy story I haven't seen, Happiness Patrol, so obviously that won't be on the list. But I've seen a good bit of them. I've seen all of season 18, all of 19, all of 23, 24, and 26, and most of 25. So I'll just be discussing, at least at this point, the top 15 stories. 15 seemed like a good number for this list. And kind of just talking about why these are my top 15. State of Decay. This is my favorite story from season 18. And I think one of the best post-Hinchcliffe stories. I love State of Decay. It's the masterpiece of season 18 to me. Another wonderful story from Uncle Terrence. Really good script, going back to that gothic horror from like season 13, 14, and 15, which I really like. Adric is alright in it. He doesn't become really bothersome until he gets with Davison, in my opinion. Lala Ward is good. Tom Baker is good. Tom Baker's always good. I like the guest cast in it. Orlok's a little, is that his name? Orlok? I can't remember his name. Orlok, maybe. He's good, but he's a little theatrical. The King, the Queen, and him they're very theatrical in it, but it fits the story for them to be, because they're very regal. They're King, a Queen, and basically a warlock. It works. I like what's going on with the story. And I love how it ties into Time Lord history, too, because it does connect back with the Time Lord's early history when they, fought the ancient vampires. Because, especially in classic Who, the Time Lords were that we don't interfere. They had that non-interference rule, that, I guess, Prime Directive or whatever, where they didn't really interfere unless it was on a grand scale, at least until all this division nonsense came along. And so it was really rare for them to take action. It really took something that was a major threat for them to take action. And so you learn about them fighting this long war against the vampires. And of course the Time Lords fought with these, what they called bow ships. And that they pretty much hunted the vampires practically to extinction. And that's pretty neat to see that come back into play here. I really like this one, just the setting. I like the ship design. I like everything with the castle. I like when you learn everything about the castle. The only real problem I have with State of Decay is the ending is a little weak. Not the actual story, but just the effect of the ending. The effect that kind of is the climax of the ending is a little weak, and I would love to see that redone a little and improved. Although there's another part of the ending with what happens with the King, Queen, and Orlok that's actually realized really well. I think that effect's done really, really well and very impressive. Great story. I love State of Decay. Castorva. My favorite Peter Davison story. I love Castorva. It's a great post-Doctor story. I like Anthony Ainley in this one. His reveal in this one caught me off guard. I did not catch it. Anthony Ainley is such a good actor that I did not catch it, and that was impressive. I like watching him kind of find his way as the Doctor, even though I know it's not the first story he filmed. Just watching him in character find his way as the Doctor. I like watching him kind of going through some of his previous incarnations, especially when he's doing his Hartnell impersonation, because it's spot on and I love it. And I just enjoyed the story. I love the concept of Castorva and everything that's going on in Castorva, and the Doctor pointing it out to the townspeople. Where's the Patreves' house? Here, here, and here. How is that possible? I just really like it. Everything with the Zero Room. The post-regeneration stuff going on in this one's really, really good. I really enjoy the special edition of this on the season 19 box set, where they've improved the effects. It really does tidy it up a bit. I just love everything going on with this story. Ghostlight is an interesting one. I've talked before how much I love Ghostlight. It's a lot like the Mind Robber in the sense that it's doing its own thing. It's kind of a very unique Doctor Who story. It's Doctor Who being Doctor Who when it's doing something really unique. I love the Victorian setting the old house. I love how gloomy the episode is. This episode has a lot of atmosphere to it. It's a very atmospheric episode. And something about McCoy having his hat off in most of it adds to that for some reason, combined with his dark coat. This just seems like a dark, atmospheric story that might take multiple watchings to completely keep up with. I love the story. I love the mystery of it. I love the fact that you got to watch it multiple times to get it. And I just love the fact it's unique. Ghostlight is definitely one of those ones I wouldn't recommend to someone trying to get into Doctor Who. But for people who love Doctor Who might be, well, what's a story I haven't seen I might like? Have you seen Ghostlight? No, go watch Ghostlight. It's a good story. The Caves of Androzani. Of course, this one had to be on here. Caves is an amazing episode. I could argue possibly that it's slightly overrated, but it is really, really good. It is Peter Davison at his best. He's just really in full force here. He goes out on a grand slam. It's a Robert Holmes script. I love Robert Holmes. I like the fact that this is a situation where the Doctor is just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the Doctor usually tries to help and make situations better, but in this one he can't, because every side involved is just a bad side. There's no good side in this. You have the miners, who are terrible people. You have Jex, who is a terrible person. Arguably rightfully so. He was pretty wronged. And then you have Morden, whatever his name is, with the weird ponytail, who's also a very terrible person, the worst of the lot, probably. So you have three different sides all vying against each other here, and the Doctor and Perry stuck in the middle, and they can't get any help. Their only main goal is to get out. The end results would have been the same even if they hadn't been there. If they just skipped that adventure, everything pretty much would have happened the same way. So at this point, they just have to get out. And plus, the episode 3 cliffhanger is one of the best in the show's history. I love it. And I love the regeneration itself. I think the regeneration is done really, really well. And I love just seeing Davison struggling to get her that last little bit away into the TARDIS. It's just a really good story. To Doomsday. I like To Doomsday. Some people don't seem to like that one. I enjoy it. It's a shame it's all studio bound, so there's no location footage from this story, as all the location footage from season 19 exists. But the story itself, I like. I like them on this ship. I reviewed To Doomsday, I think, just a couple months back. And I really, really liked it. It's nice to see Davison get to have his Sonic a bit, since Davison doesn't really have his Sonic for long. It's really nice to see him get to use it a few times here when he sends a little ball spinning. Adric's a bit annoying in it, as he is with Davison's run, but I like Nyssa and Tegan in it. I like Davison when he first sees the camera and he's just smiling at it like, hello! Practically waving at it. Davison has such a nice smile. It is a lot of fun. I just like, I just really enjoy To Doomsday a lot. The Curse of Fenrik. This is essential Doctor Who watching. I could argue Fenrik's a little overrated, but it is essential Doctor Who watching. It's so good. There's so many different versions of it to watch. I think I like the special edition of it with the enhanced effects. That's the one I like the best. I do love the enhanced effects for it. But it's such a good story. I like the color grading better on that edition too. It really is. If you ever want to get down to really what makes the Seventh Doctor, really, this is the story to watch. Some people might argue Remembrance, and you can make a good argument for that, but I will say Curse of Fenrik. I just prefer it as a story as well. I love everything going on with Fenrik itself as a creature and its old battle with the Doctor. I love Ace's backstory getting fleshed out and her having some revelations in it. I love the guest cast, like the main Russian commander. I like him a lot. McCoy is just so good in this. I absolutely love McCoy in this. I like the two creepy girls who meet their grisly fate. They're pretty cool. It's come play with us. I like what happens to them and how they go back and get their little wretched stepmother or whoever that is. That's pretty neat. It's such a good story. Curse of Fenrik. If there's any McCoy episode I point out to people that they need to watch, it is Curse of Fenrik. It's really, really good. Then I'm going to say Paradise Towers. I'm not going to go into a big spill on it because I've talked about Paradise Towers a lot lately, but I really do like Paradise Towers. It has some very dark subject matter in it that makes it a fascinating watch. It contrasts a little bit with the visual style that season 24 has because it does have that kind of bright, colorful style. It really is a contradiction, the style that it's shot in versus the actual subject matter of the story. And McCoy is great in this. He's a lot more subdued than people stereotypically think of him in season 24. He does act more like his season 25 persona, which I really like. It's a really, really good story. I like Paradise Towers. I recommend it to anyone that likes the Seventh Doctor. Resurrection of the Daleks. This is my favorite of the Dalek stories from the 80s, although I haven't watched it in a while. I just love everything going on, and it is so violent. I think it's pretty famous for having like a higher body count than the Terminator. Just everything going on, Davros getting freed, Davros trying to form his own faction of Daleks while the Doctor's having to, deal with everything that's going on as well. I need to rewatch it sometime soon. I don't own it, but I really like Resurrection of the Daleks. My favorite of the Daleks stories from the 80s. Survival. The final story from the 80s. And I think that might be part of the reason why it makes the list. It is a good send-off. I do love that speech at the end. Come on, Ace, we've got work to do. That's a great speech. It's a great way to end the classic series. But it's also on here because not only do I like McCoy in it and I like Ace in it, but I think this is Anthony Ainley's best performance as the Master. And he doesn't have anybody forcing him to do any of this panto stuff like his Master has to do sometimes. I think he kind of gets to play it the way he wants. I don't think he's been this good since Legopolis. And it's really nice seeing the Seventh Doctor and the Master go up against each other. I would have loved to have seen that more. Chess Master Doctor versus the Master. I would have loved to have seen more of that. The brief little confrontation we get with them is really, really good. And I would have really enjoyed seeing more of that. The Five Doctors. The Five Doctors is just really good. I think Troughton steals the show, of course, because Troughton does, but Pertwee is great in this. Davison, of course, is good in this. I really like Richard Herndl as the First Doctor. This was the first adventure I saw with the First Doctor, so I have a bit of an attachment here, but I actually think he does put in a really good performance as the First Doctor. And then I even enjoyed the little clip from Shada with Tom Baker, because at the time I watched this growing up, I didn't know anything about Shada, so I thought they had just gotten Tom Baker back for a brief clip. Maybe he was busy filming something else, so he just came in long enough to do that one clip. I didn't realize it was Shada stuff, but it was nice also to have a little Fourth Doctor in the story. I enjoyed everything going on with it. I wish we'd had maybe more with the Daleks, but I like the fact that you have a bunch of previous companions. I like their pairings, Sarah with Pertwee and Brigadier with Troughton. I enjoyed that. I like that the Cybermen had a nice little role in it. I like the fact the Master's trying to help the Doctor, but the Doctor doesn't believe him. I enjoy that. And then I like when you find out who the culprit is, because it's if you were following Doctor Who up to this point on original broadcast, it's a shock. It is, because this is a character who had been in like 3 or 4 previous stories, had always been a pretty good character. So to see that turn, it had to be a nice little shock to people. So yeah, The Five Doctors is great. It's one of my favorite multi-Doctor stories. Vengeance on Varos, or Varos? I like this one. The way it predates reality TV is quite interesting. I think Colin Baker is good in this as well. Aside from the parry into a bird thing, which is weird, I liked the story. I enjoy the acid bath scene. The violence in the story doesn't bother me. And I like Syl a lot. Syl is a really nice character. I like him better here than I do in Mind Warp, 'cause I don't really care for Mind Warp, although Sill's fine in Mind Warp. But I really like him here, because Sill just strikes me as a great way to poke fun at capitalists, especially capitalist businessmen. I swear he's just a perfect example of a slimy little weasel slug of a capitalist, you know? Much like I think the little liquid grubby creature in the Sunmakers was. So I really like how they designed him to kind of fit that. And just a little knock at how the dark side of capitalism, so to speak. It's a good story. I think it's Colin Baker's best story, at least in the TV show. Dragonfire. I've talked a lot before about Dragonfire, so I won't talk about it a lot. I do love that it's Ace's introduction story. And I like Ace a lot. She's one of the best companions the Doctor's had. And I really think she starts strong in this story, even though she gets fleshed out more later. I like McCoy in this part in this story for the most part. It's great to have Glitz back, because I love Glitz as a character. So it's nice that we get to see Glitz interact not only with Colin's Doctor, but in this story we get to see him interact with McCoy's Doctor. So Glitz actually has two doctors that he gets to interact with, and that's pretty cool. But in this story, just McCoy. And then I like that the creature that they're hunting is actually really well designed and looks really neat. And I like the fact the creature turns out to be friendly and peaceful. That's kind of turns the story on its head, since it's designed to kind of look like an alien from Aliens, but it's not evil like the alien from Aliens. I think that's a nice little twist. Yeah, other than the really terrible, quite literal cliffhanger that I'll agree was garbage, other than that, I think it's a really good story. The Keeper of Tartarus, another really good Tom Baker story. I think it's a great penultimate story for his era. A lot going on there. It's nice seeing the Master back, since the Master had been gone for a really long time at this point, like 6 years or 5 or 6 years. So he'd been gone for a while. It was a good little break, so to see him come back. And you don't really get the reveal of him being back until late in the story. And that's really neat. Tom is good in it. Adric is actually really good in this one as well. And I really like Anthony Ainley as Tremas in it. I think this is my favorite Anthony Ainley performance in the story. The fact that he sells Tremas as this regal, noble, good, and intelligent scientist makes his fate all the more tragic and sad. And you kind of feel for Nyssa in that. It's a good story. I mean, it's kind of weird that it's a planet of people being nice to each other, and suddenly the whole planet's in trouble because they're not being nice to each other. The plot's a little thin. I'll admit it's a little thin. But other than that, it's a really good story. Meg Lost. I like Meg Lost, and I know there's a lot of other stories people would rather have on there, but I just find Meg Lost a lot of fun. It's a good four-parter. I wish it had been a little longer, because the ending seems a little rushed. It just clears up faster than it seems like it should. Like, I kept expecting it to be another episode, but it wasn't. That was the end, and I'm like, that's it? But I like it. One, we have Jacqueline Hill back, so original companion Barbara. Even though she's not playing Barbara, she's playing a different character, but it's nice to have Jacqueline Hill back on Doctor Who. I love watching Tom Baker playing the dual roles of the Doctor and Meg Lost. And I like the fact that having the actor play dual roles makes sense in this story. It's actually part of the plot, where Meg Lost is disguising himself as the Doctor for a reason. And that goes a long way for me in a story when there's a reason why the villain is played by the same actor as the main character. I really enjoy that. So yeah, I find Meg Lost to be one of Tom Baker's most underrated stories, and I really enjoy it. I just wish it was a little longer. Earthshock. I did a review recently on Earthshock, so I'm not going to really go into details on it. But it is a really good story. It has a very epic feel to it. Very, very epic feel. I actually like the casting. Even the captain, the one who plays the captain, I think she's fine. I've heard criticisms of her before, but I think she's fine. Davison is great in this role. I think for its time, Adric's death was really shocking, because they just didn't really do that in Classic Who back then. In Classic Who, they didn't really do that. So I think that was pretty neat. that they actually did a companion death like that. And the Cybermen feel like a major threat in this, which is what the Cybermen should feel like. And the modern Doctor Who series could really learn a lot of lessons from this story on how to do a Cyberman story right. Earthshock is very epic. It deserves, I think, all the accolades it gets. And just a quick shout out to one honorable mention. I did want to mention The Visitation, because I do really like The Visitation a lot. I just rewatched it recently. It's a really good Peter Davison story, and the location work on it looks phenomenally good. Phenomenally. So this has been my top 15 stories of the 80s. Doctor Who from the 80s, at least thus far. I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. I would like to know what you think of my list and these stories, and which 15 you would put if you were doing lists. So comment down below and let me know what you think. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do, there is a link to that down in the description below, so please check that out. Most importantly though, thank you for watching.